Hello everyone, today I am looking at Bramble, the Mountain King. This game is very interesting. What I really like about Game Pass is I can just play games without knowing anything about them, like no trailers, no teasers, no previews, no reviews, nothing, and I jump into them and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what this is. And suddenly it's like, no, I don't know what this is anymore. And so this game essentially is a action-adventure puzzle game where, again, with mostly a lot of stealth because it's really avoiding enemies and stuff like that. And it's very much based very heavily on Swedish folklore. And you can tell it's very, very much based in the folklore because this game shifts tone really hard. In the first kind of section, you're this little Hansel and Gretel kind of boy and girl, and they essentially are, in this field, and find these little gnomes and things, and you basically, play games with the gnomes, and they're very mischievous and whatever. And suddenly trolls show up and they start, tearing the heads off the gnomes and eating them. And you're like, okay, all right, this wasn't the game I thought it was. But I was really engaged because the characters looked very distinct. It had a very distinct style, the music, everything about it. You can tell, this is proper folklore. In a way that's done that only folklore can be done, where they did not adapt or change any of the original kind of stories here, and very much like the Brothers Grimm, it goes from very happy to very dark very quickly. Again, a lot of this game you kind of run from environment to environment. You'll do a handful of mini games from first person mode, finding all the gnomes, to activating switches, and for the most part of this game is really doing stealth bits and basically dodging enemies with a giant spotlight kind of mission. Other times it's going behind these trenches, so it does keep the gameplay pretty diverse and interesting. There's this one part where you have to go through this village of how would I even describe, almost Resident Evil, where there's a village of all these zombies. And in general, what is a common theme is usually the kids will be shrunken down, so normal woodland creatures are a lot more dangerous that you have to avoid, but there's also a lot of mythological creatures like I said, trolls and goblins and stuff like that. And this game gets, I would say, decently very, very dark. In fact, there is one section, there's lots of sections of the game, but there's one section where you're going through this rowboat, and this ferryman will appear behind you with sunken out eyelids. This game is really weird because it's kind of been marketed as a horror game, which it is, but it also just isn't. It's a very unique experience, I will say that much. Definitely worth playing, especially if you're into mythology and lore and puzzle solving, obviously. But it does get very intense. It's also very strange because there's the Mountain King and then there's the Bramble, and so they have this whole theme where the sister and the brother, or rather the sister, can learn how to manifest light, and you can actually throw this light ball at things, and that becomes one of the main mechanics, and that the boy learns. And he uses that to disrupt the Bramble, but the Bramble itself is this series of weeds and thorns that takes over everything and corrupts stuff. But you don't really see it a lot through the story. There's one boss that is based around the Bramble, but it's not a common theme, which always kind of made me kind of I kind of missed the ball on that point. But aside from that, everything else is very well done. There are also multiple bosses throughout the game, and the final boss is actually a lot of fun, and it's hard. As a combination of, she's basically shooting these giant projectiles at you, different types of projectiles, ones you have to dodge, ones you have to jump over, and you have to basically keep shooting the little effigies or whatever on the trees around the arena until she comes down, and then you can basically do this sword fight with her. The mechanics of this game do get quite good and quite intense, and this game was just full of surprises from beginning to end. I had no idea what to expect, but Bramble is a fantastic little gem of a game. Again, it's nothing I would say mechanically, legendary or whatever. For doing a game based on Swedish or Nordic folklore, it does it in a really interesting and intense way. And again, it's just a really interesting experience. But yeah, and of course I do have to mention that the final boss of this game obviously is going to be the Mountain King, and they do play the classic song In the Hall of the Mountain King, and it syncs up. It is a great boss fight. It is absolutely perfect. It syncs up with the music and the tone and everything, and it is really great. I don't know, this game has a lot of soul. And even though, again, it's not super complicated, it's not complex, it doesn't have a great story, just a bunch of, these chapters of weird bosses. I think my favorite one is actually the Swamp Witch. I think witches in general are cool, but the way they did the Swamp Witch in this game was really shocking and interesting and horrifying and cool. Something like Resident Evil or Silent Hill might do. So yeah, that level of quality is still here, and it's a very cinematic game and very visual as well. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. So yeah, I don't have much else to say about it except if it sounds like something you play, go for it. But yeah, that is Bramble and the Hall of the Mountain King. I'll see you guys later. Bye.